Tim Sauer for What's New Electronics TV. Welcome to Productronica 2019. We've got a very interesting subject here today about the future of diversity in our industry, and I've got an amazing panel. Welcome with me here, consisting of Emma Hudson, CTO for Gen3, Michael Ford from Aegis, and MB Allen from Kik. Welcome. So this is a topic that is much discussed, and as we walk around the halls of this trade fair, there is no question that it's a male-dominated industry. Lots of male faces. Personally, I have seen some developments in seeing a variety and a diversity of people within the industry, but just looking at some of the statistics that I've been able to find during the research, seems that young girls between 11 and 14 believe they can become an engineer. It drops to a quarter by the time they're 16, and there's about 11% of women in the industry in engineering roles, roughly speaking from the research I saw. So already it's quite interesting how it drops, and my first question really is, would you have an explanation as to why that might be?
Thank you. I think a lot of it is, I've seen similar research, and one of the things is I think girls get turned off very quickly from it, and they don't think they can do it, and typically maths needs to be strong to get into these engineering groups. And also a lot of it comes from the parents. I've seen research as well that says if mothers don't support going into engineering and going, yes, you can do maths, and doing the encouragement, so that can actually have a large part on it. And it can just turn girls off from a young age. You can see how the statistics drop. So there's been a group that I worked with in the UK, Women in Science and Engineering, and they've done a lot of this research, and they're trying to get into schools much earlier to keep girls switched on. But yes, I think the statistics speak for themselves, as we just don't have enough encouragement through those age ranges to keep it coming. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's quite a worry.
It is a big worry, and there are some initiatives that are obviously taking place. But I mean, it's interesting that you say it starts actually from a very young age, and how you actually grow up in your home, and maybe what the schools are doing.
Yeah.
Would you agree? And is this a global phenomenon, or can we sort of say it's more likely in the Western world, and other countries might be encouraging more diversity from a young age?
Full disclosure, when I was going through, no, it's not that. When I was going through university, I was kind of offered two tracks. You know, you could either go into engineering or you could go into being a scientist. So being a scientist for me was a little bit boring, but engineering kind of implied oil and dirt. And I kind of thought, well, okay, we'll do the science thing. And then a year later, I realized maybe that's not the best course. For me, it really is boring. I actually want to create something, to do something. So this is as much a problem as the perception of what these jobs are. Because people don't really understand what engineering is today, or manufacturing is today, the kind of new digital tools that we use, the software that's in use, the cleverness of the machines, the whole environment. This is not, getting underneath a 1950s car and draining oil. It's a completely different environment. And we need to do more to explain to people what is involved in that environment, what are the creative challenges, what kind of teamwork, what kind of things will be involved. Because if people knew actually what was going to be done, there'd be a lot less of this fallout, I think.
Thank you. Kim, you touched on so many different possibilities and so many different subjects. Going back to the earlier stages for me, when I first came into this industry, it was my second career actually, and there were very few women in the industry, especially in an engineering position. It was very rare. In fact, I live in San Diego, California, and at the time I knew of one female engineer. It has changed tremendously. I also think at that time, it wasn't something that women actually thought about. It wasn't something that you even came up across when you were in school. So therefore, there were not as many people that were going in that type of education, let alone to go into that as a career. And I think that's changed quite a bit. I think we're seeing a big change because we do want more diversity. But I don't think it's just women. I think it's that we also want youth. I just see tremendous amount of different organizations participating in that, inclusive of women. I think previously there was a thought that women had to fight harder to be an engineer or in the electronics industry. I do believe that those that were here were very determined. They worked to be at the same level or have the same experience and have the same technological knowledge to be able to gain those positions and to keep them. But I have seen recently a tremendous change from a high school level, as you mentioned. In California, I was recently asked to speak at a high school at a women's high school to the engineering department to get them thinking at an earlier age. And now we see more involvement with universities and students. Okay, come to work with us, join the family, start at an earlier level, mentoring, and so forth. And so I do think that the diversity is coming very much so.
And maybe that's driven by the fact that it's not just changing for this industry. There's a global change taking place anyway, where equality is a given.
Yeah.
And it's about talent in the end, and that may be driving initiatives that are going on.
Yeah, I think actually just a couple of the points as well, but picking up some of these things is role models, as you say. It is so much statistics there and research saying that you need good female role models so girls can understand that this is a career that is available to them. And also on the topic of understanding it's not oil under your fingernails, it's trying to explain to girls that this is, a lot of girls and women like getting into caring professions. Engineering, for me, is all about safety and making things safer for people, and so it is a caring profession. It's just caring in a different way. I think all of the projects that are going on, lots of institutes and schools, and I was with going into a group of girl guides and brownies and teaching them how to make water-powered bottle rockets and making it seem fun and getting in at that level. But yeah, I think those initiatives are going to be really key and to keep driving it forward and say, yeah, making engineering, people understand what engineering is. And yeah, us women that do make it being the role models for the future and going, yeah, this is just a normal profession. This is, it's just good. It's great.
But is it really at the forefront of a lot of companies' strategy, employment strategy, to really open the door up in an equal way, or are we still at a stage where you say that, but it might not necessarily be part of the way people recruit? Because they're still quite traditional in their views.
I'll pass the microphone over there. I'll just say some yes, some no would be my answer. Some yes, some are doing great things, others lip service, if that.
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 months ago in Chicago, I had the opportunity to join a group of young people who are coming into the industry that was put together by the SMTA. I was absolutely shocked at some of the stories that came out from these young people who had been trying to get into the industry. Sure, there was some kind of bias going on, which I thought had been, disappeared years ago, but no. Ethnic background, whether you're a boy or girl, also whether you were clever or not clever. And it struck me that going through those conversations, that particularly in this industry, you've got a huge momentum of men who are aging, who are experts in what they've done. They know everything about everything to do with all of the technology around here. And they kind of see anybody, especially the younger people, especially women, coming up, and it's almost like they don't take them seriously. And for me, my experience talking to these people, I was really impressed. I was impressed with their approach to things, how they were providing a whole new context and looking at things with fresh eyes, with fresh ideas. And to me, I would have fallen over to recruit any one of them. There was some really, really good people there. And yet they were telling me that interviews were not going well, that they were just being dismissed as, no, you can't do this, we're not, It was like they were actively blocking them. And there were excuses for that, and it really made me disappointed to think that these people that we have in the industry, we need to train and bring in the next generation. It's the youth. And that needs to include people who have a wide diversity in their point of view, in their way of thinking, in their experience and ideas that they bring into it. Because if we don't do that, quite literally, we're going to become dinosaurs of the industry. And we know what happened to them. We need to bring in that next generation.
So do we feel threatened?
You know, it's interesting, your point, Michael, because I look at it also from the opposite perspective. Because of so many engineers getting older and so many of us getting older, we are desperately looking for youth. And we need to be innovative in getting those people to come to us. And so my perception, or at least from my company's perception and from many people that I speak with, is that when someone comes with knowledge and even not a lot of experience, but enough background to be logical and to be dedicated, I think for me, dedication and the drive. If I see someone that has the drive, I am going to be very, very receptive to that person and want to engage with them, because that's what we're not seeing, right? So if we see youth, that's great. If they come and they're here for the short term, it's just a stepping stone to management or to another job. That's different. But if someone can bring something to the table, I think we're desperate for that. And I do believe employers should jump on those opportunities, because they're few and far between to have someone that wants to be employed, has the knowledge. A friend of mine has a daughter who was going to engineering school. And, you know, it was like, really? What kind of engineer? You want to be an electrician, or what is it? And through friends, learned more about our industry and is now in our industry. So she didn't know what she wanted to be. She just knew she liked engineering. She loved math. She loved that whole world. Didn't relate it necessarily to electronics, but now is in the electronics industry. This is wonderful for us. This is an asset to the company and certainly to our industry.
I'd just like to add for any of the younger people watching this, especially the women, you know, when you go for interviews and when you meet these kind of people, get the opportunities, you're going to meet some real awful people who are just totally closed to whatever you might want to bring. Just persist. Go away, find somebody else, because there are plenty of companies up here who really do value what you will be able to contribute. So, you know, don't assume we're all the same. There are many, many opportunities, and the guys who just don't accept it or for some reason resist it, just move on. They will learn in time. It may be too late, but just move on, because you're worth it. You really need to bring your expertise into the industry. We're desperate for it.
Yeah, there are lots of opportunities, and I do talk to a lot of companies within the industry that are desperately looking for the next generation of talent to come on board.
It's one of the things as well, it's diversity of education, whether you're degree qualified or whether you've come through the apprenticeship route, and you need all that diversification. And I'm pleased to see, certainly in the UK, apprenticeships are becoming more of a thing again. Because when I was coming up, I didn't do great at my A-levels, things happened, and I went on a more practical route and then went to university. And I found that was so much better for an engineering profession. And it's giving people that proper opportunity, the structured opportunity of apprenticeships as well. I think that's really important, rather than just hiring someone straight from university that hasn't necessarily had the practical skills, which is often what we need in engineering profession, is you need the practical. So yeah, I think that's very important to me to see those opportunities.
That's one of probably many solutions. So let's talk about the solutions that we might have to encourage that next generation. Apprenticeships being one. What else do you see that we can do as an industry to reach those very young people right at an early age, and then really mentor them through to becoming the next people that are sitting here on this panel with me?
I think it's about the awareness of what is out there for these young people. We do a lot of work between industry, universities. Maybe that needs to go further. And we need to structure it and message it in a way that appeals to the kids, basically. Because we have the generation now where the latest phones, the tablets, people are so confident in using them. They use them every day. Even VR headsets. I mean, people are wandering around playing games. They need to understand that, the devices that they're using were manufactured. And it's kind of a game in the manufacturing, actually. And they can be creative. It drives their creativity, some of these games. And if they can understand where those devices come from and what they can do to contribute to the design, the manufacture, the servicing, there are so many aspects that they would be interested in doing. So we need to present that message in a way that they really understand. They are kids after all. We shouldn't assume that they have a great understanding as yet about industry. For them, industry is what they see on TV, where they see all the kind of stories about things going wrong, probably. So we need to bring the other side of that story to them in a way that they understand. So it's up to the companies, I think, to do that, helped by the universities and other kind of schools and things like that to really get the opportunity to do that, so that people can go through their entire academic life not being steered by convention or by their parents, but being steered by their creativity and their want to do something.
Creativity is interesting. I just saw something on television while I was here. It was in South Africa, and it was on the news, and it was a gentleman in South Africa who decided that there weren't enough emojis that represented South American culture. And so he just decided to start drawing emojis, and from that, he now has a business. It doesn't necessarily mean it was manufacturing, but it was creativity. And our business is so spread out all over the world, and in some places it isn't a big city. It isn't where there's going to be a large group of people to choose from. It's going to be a village. It could be a village here in Germany, and it could be somewhere in the middle of the US where you don't have that large population to draw from. So it's really important that the people in those places as well go out and make known what the possibilities are in their companies, whether it be small or large, and what the opportunities are from there going forward as well. So the youth has to see there's also an upward path for them. It isn't a job that they're going to go to today, and that's it. They have to see the whole big picture in order for it to be appealing to them. But as you said, they also have to recognize that there is an industry for that, or positions for that. Something fun. You have that opportunity to bring your mind and your creativity to the table, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, I've seen some great children's toys actually doing this. So you start them really early, and certainly for girls, there was I bought it for one of my nieces. It was a lipstick making kit. So she had all the science in it, but she was doing makeup, and so it was still appealing to a girl. But it is, you say, that creativity and letting them understand that, and that is part of what we do. It's a wonderful profession. And say, people like us going here and going, this is a great profession to be in. I love engineering. It's a family to me, this industry. It's, yeah, fun, very much.
Yeah. It's interesting. Both you and MB have mentioned the word family. Now, family is what everybody really strives for. It means warmth. It means friendship. It means love. All of those things. And I love being in this industry as well with everybody. So that's a very powerful message, I think, to spread. At the beginning, because we're running out of time as well, and I want to open the floor to some questions. I did want to touch upon the sort of geographical spread as well, because there are some countries that are more progressive in this field than others, and I believe the Nordic countries certainly have a more equal spread and more diverse spread of people within their industries. Why would that be? What are they doing that maybe the other places aren't doing? Is it education?
It's for me, it's that momentum thing, and you typically see it more where technologies have originated. You know, the technologies that are all around us. I'm not going to say anything about them, but they're established. There is an established group of people there. Where that has been established for a long time, you've got a greater shell around it that you need to break through. People who've adapted and utilized that technology in different applications, that's a whole different game, because they've had a much more modern approach to it and a more progressive approach. You then take a look at things like software, where there is absolutely no barrier to anybody. Everybody's equal, and it doesn't even matter how clever you are in some cases. I've had people who have taught themselves software and ended up being the greatest software engineer I've ever seen. And there are others who, okay, they're good, but you know, it's the creativity that's there. And so it's the people who acknowledge that. So the more progressive the country, the more progressive the technology, the area, it's not one rule fits all. You will find different companies or different regions that are supporting it more than others. So it's just a matter of seeking out what you want to do from a creative aspect. But for sure, it does seem sometimes like there's a whole blockade going on, which one day is going to have to be, you know.
Well, it seems that we're going in the right direction. I have to stop you because I've
Okay.
just been given a sign that we've already reached our half-an-hour slot, so really sorry. Very interesting conversation. And because we're right at the end, I don't think I've got time for some questions unless I get a sign that I can. Are we okay for questions, maybe? Yeah, I've got a nod. So is anybody in the audience that would like to ask my panel some questions on what we've discussed? Just raise your hand. If not, the panel will be, I'm sure, oh, here we go, yes.
What do you think, why is it so much easier for women in Eastern Germany than in Southern Germany to be accepted as an engineer?
Does anybody know?
Why have I got the mic? I honestly don't know. I mean, if I were just to take a guess, if that would be any good, maybe people in Eastern Germany are more progressive in that this technology has come in more recent years, and maybe there is more of an embedded, ingrained kind of approach going on in Southern Germany. But if this is really true, we need to start to seek out the reasons. You know, we need to find out why that is, because it's a great question. And we really need to start to persuade people to open things up. I've worked with people from Southern Germany and Eastern Germany, and from Eastern Germany, it's been guys, actually. So I think there is an opportunity here to improve.
Maybe it's also the fact where the industry, automotive industry or manufacturing industry is located, but you know, because it's a regional question, it's really to investigate, and like Michael says, it's to look at why that might be, and then find the solutions to encourage, to encourage more diversity in the area where it lacks currently. So if there's no further questions, thank you very much to my panel. Thank you very much to the audience.